Proton X first revealed Sonic Xtreme to the world in 2011. It was unrelated to Sonic Xtreme with no E, and certainly unrelated to the point-of-view version of Sonic Xtreme for the Saturn with an E that was just recently found. Instead of a fisheye style Xtreme, instead it was the Xtreme of the skateboarding or hoverboarding variety. I have two goals with this video: share some previously unknown details along with some high quality footage, while also clearing up some of the misconceptions that may be out there. Let's start with something that may be a bit obvious to some of you out there, but this game was not really cancelled. Simply because it was never really a thing. Sega didn't want it, so it never really entered production. So sure, it's a prototype, a pitch, unreleased, whatever you want to say, but I want to keep everyone's idea of what it was in check. I should quickly mention my Patreon supporters for this month. Thank you to Lass, and I'm going to apologize if it's supposed to be Lassie, I don't know. But thank you very much for joining the Patreon campaign. And thank you very much to all of you that continue to support my game preservation efforts, whether through Patreon or through other means. Back to the game. Vision Scape Interactive is the developer of this prototype. The company is really only credited to a handful of titles: X-Blade's Inline Skater for the PlayStation, and C-Blade on the Xbox come to mind. But that isn't to say that they haven't contributed to games in the entertainment industry. Instead, they helped work on cutscenes and other media for games, including helping Sega with the cutscenes of Sonic Heroes, which they happily borrowed assets from for this demo, and we'll come back to that fact later. They also contributed to numerous other production assets, including on titles like Call of Duty, Twisted Metal, and dozens of others. That isn't to say that they didn't work on prototypes of their own though. Speed Metal, seen here for perhaps the first time, along with Tiltronica and a Samurai Jack demo, were prototyped, although none of them seem to have gone very far in development. Now, despite having Sonic Adventure 2's Escape from the City theme, a song that is forever stuck in my head, the game does not use Sonic Adventure 2's engine. Instead, it is primarily using the Renderware engine, which was developed by Criterion Software, giving the ability to quickly deploy software across multiple platforms. This prototype was compiled on May 27, 2003. Along with the files for this demo, there is a separate Xbox executable for a tech deck game, compiled on May 21, 2003. The two games are almost identical, sharing assets between them when necessary. The level layouts are the same, although Sonic dresses things up with the Sonic flair that you'd come to expect. Files can be interchanged so that Sonic can play the tech deck decorated levels, along with the opposite. This is a quick way to pitch a game for two different licenses. But let's take a step back. How did we get to the point that Vision Scape was pitching two titles using the same engine? And the answer lies in Nickelodeon. C-Blade, one of Vision Scape's last shipped projects, shipped in November of 2002, but in the meantime they were working on a new project. In 2002, THQ released Rocket Power Beach Bandits for the PS2, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance. Following its release, THQ kept trucking along and was looking to release yet another Rocket Power game. Plans formed for Rocket Power Zero Gravity Zone. While a Game Boy Advance version was released on August 30th, 2003, a home console version was missing, unlike its earlier game. It seems that Vision Scape was in charge of working on Zero Gravity Zone for the PS2, Xbox, and reportedly the GameCube, although I've been unable to confirm the last platform. Work started in 2002 on the title. Many years ago, I received a prototype from around January 1st, 2003 on both the PS2 and the Xbox, and with the Sonic files I just received, I received a January 17th build of Rocket Power, or rather one that was labeled as January but was actually built in February of 2003. While I wouldn't call the game great by any stretch of the imagination, it did have multiple characters implemented, multiple game modes, and multiple levels, all working in some form, though again far from complete. Following these builds though, something happened, and so far I haven't quite gotten the full story. Now unfortunately, this is where I must start to speculate based on the information and the builds that I have received thus far. I believe that THQ stripped Vision Scape of the Rocket Power license for some reason. I don't know if it was because of the game's quality, whether they were missing milestones, or whether THQ just had different ideas, but this left them without a major project and left them hurting. What they did have, though, is a working skateboarding engine. Starting in late February 2003, new test executables started to show up. The first major prototype is titled Circus Rejects and was built on March 3rd, 2003. It is unknown how long this was worked on, but it was built on the Rocket Power engine. Asset files can be found from Rocket Power, along with evidence in the executable itself pointing to the fact that it uses the same engine. From here we see our two new prototypes, the Tech Deck and Sonic Xtreme demos. These were pitched to the license holders. Tech Deck went on and was developed for the PC, with the Xbox version being developed but cancelled for real this time. As was the case with Circus Rejects, Rocket Power assets are again found in the Sonic prototype folder, further confirming the fact that these demos were built from the ashes of Rocket Power. What I did find strange, though, is the email from Tammy McDonald, who was working at Vision Scape Interactive at the time. I've since reached out, but I only have the email from Sonic Who Forever. In this email, they say that they pitched the game to Sega, which I don't doubt, but then a year plus later, they came out with Sonic Riders. That is completely false. Instead, it was actually 2 years and 9 months until Sonic Riders was released. This is far larger of a time period than was let on. The email does indicate that they were using other skateboard game code, but knowing that it wasn't just a skateboarding game, but rather the dead Rocket Power game that led to it, I was hoping that this would further clarify where the game stands in Vision Scape history. Unfortunately, I haven't received a response to my emails. Let's not forget about the fact that this game used Sonic Heroes assets, though. With this being worked on in May 2003, I very nearly forgot to look up Sonic Heroes' release date, December 30th, 2003. This means that the company used the assets of Sonic Heroes while Sonic Heroes was still in development to create their pitch. Onto Sonic Xtreme itself. The game has a fairly basic logo, but hidden in the files is one that is a lot more visually pleasing, seen here. In all of the game modes, the player can select from either Sonic or Shadow as their playable character. The game has a very basic mission mode in which the player must find a Chaos Emerald. The player must find a key to unlock the zone where the Chaos Emerald is hiding before being kicked to the main menu when you actually collect it. There is an alternate level located in the game's files, plus the mentioned Tech Deck files as well. Also hidden is a tester level, although that doesn't have any goals and seems to actually be for testing the game like you'd expect. A battle mode exists where the player can pick up missiles, grenades, and all sorts of fun stuff. You can actually win, but there are no graphics indicating the health. The Tech Deck demo does have health bars though, which I'm sure could have been implemented into Sonic had they wanted to. Lastly, there is a race mode, which is pretty self-explanatory. Get to the end and you win. Speaking of winning and losing, hidden in the game files are these movies that would have been played after you won or lost. I'm not sure that there is much else that I can say about Sonic Xtreme right now. It clearly went nowhere, and the Tech Deck license was a project that lived to see another day. I do hope I cleared up some of the rumors, although in the process I think I've created some of my own. We do know the engine that was used in renderware, the dates that this prototype was made, and kind of what was going on at Vision Scape at the time, which I think paints a fairly clear picture, even if I've had to speculate a little bit. For a demo, it's not the worst thing ever, but it really is pretty much what you expect from a prototype of this nature. Do hit that subscribe button, leave a comment about how you're sure that this game is still better than Sonic 2006, and do consider checking us out on Patreon. Until next time, thanks for watching.